This week on the Four Rivers Ag Report, rain or sleet or dark night might not keep the postman away, but it's ruining our schedules. And can we learn something from West Texas? And also, how do you attract a bed bug? And why? That and more on the Four Rivers Ag Report. Welcome to the Four Rivers Ag Report. I'm Fred Peralta. What a week we have had. We are thinking about changing the name of the program from the Four Rivers Ag Report to the One Really Big Muddy Mess Ag Report. Hopefully we've seen the end of major precipitation for a while, and soon the fields will be filled with farmers who have to find something new to complain about. Well, last week we ran a story about a new program being offered by the Illinois Fertilizer and Chemical Association to train young people and farmers on fertilizer safety and handling of ammonia in particular. Well, last week we also saw horrible pictures from West Texas of a fire and explosion at a fertilizer plant. So I thought I'd talk to Gene Payne, the president of the Illinois Fertilizer and Chemical Association, about safety, security, and what can we do to avoid the worst. With me now is Gene Payne. She's the president of the Illinois Fertilizer and Chemical Association. And Gene, you've been following the situation in West Texas pretty closely. What do we know and what can we learn from that?
Well, Fred, I know the industry has been very cautious about drawing conclusions about what happened. The fact that the Chemical Safety Board is there evaluating the situation, I'm sure they'll come to some conclusion. I know for most of us in the fertilizer industry, when we heard about what happened down there, the common reaction is, what were they storing and how are they storing it? And all fertilizer plants store, nitrogen-based products in various forms. A lot of it depends on what part of the country you're in. Down in Texas, they have a lot of pasture ground. That's quite different from central Illinois. And so they do store fertilizers that are a little bit different than what we store up here in Illinois.
Now, from what I read, they had ammonium nitrate at that site,
yes,
correct?
It appears that they did, yes.
Okay, now that's the most explosive, that's the stuff that was used in Oklahoma City, wasn't it?
Yes, that's correct.
So do all fertilizer plants have that product there?
Well, no. In fact, ammonium nitrate is a fertilizer that's kind of more preferred for pasture ground. It's used very little, extremely little in Illinois because we don't have a lot of livestock production or pasture ground anymore. In fact, the states that have the highest amounts of ammonium nitrate sales are Missouri, Tennessee, Alabama, and Texas. We really don't handle that product anymore. In fact, after the Oklahoma City bombing in 1996, our industry, the few facilities that we used to have in Illinois that did handle it for a few farmers that might have had passed around, actually got out of handling it because that's when the Patriot Act made it a regulated homeland security product and you had to record what you had to the government, put a lot more safety measures in effect. And since we had good alternatives, we just moved away from that product, but it still does have uses in the southern part of the United States and out west as well.
In an article I read, you talked about the precautions and things that your industry and the state and the federal government have been involved with to make sure the plants are as safe as they can be. You want to talk about some of those?
Sure, Fred. I mean, after 1996 in Oklahoma City and after 9/11, we became part of the Illinois Terrorism Task Force. So our association, the Fertilizer and Chemical Association, is a part of that task force. We meet regularly with the FBI and, the state police. Everybody's joined in that together. And for the last 10 years or more, anytime we've had any kind of suspicious activity around our fertilizer plants, people calling us and wanting to buy fertilizer and you don't know who they are and they've got no business asking you the kind of questions that they're asking, we report all that activity to the Joint Terrorism Task Force, and they will take any clue, however benign it might mean. So from a security standpoint, there's a lot of layers of protection out there, and the industry's been extremely responsive to that because we take our products very seriously and have a lot of professionalism and pride in what we do. And when someone uses either fertilizer to make a bomb or uses anhydrous ammonia to make meth, really upsets our industry to think people can use those products in a detrimental way.
One of the things I was going to ask you about was the training program that you and the other farm organizations are sponsoring to train people on fertilizer safety and handling. What was the need? What was the need you saw for that program?
Well, this is particularly an anhydrous ammonia training program in Illinois, because we're such a big corn state. The most common form of fertilizer is anhydrous ammonia, and that's a product that is not flammable and it's not explosive. It is an inhalation hazard, and that's why we handle it as an inhalation hazard. It is stored in a pressurized container, although it's very difficult to ignite that product. But we launched upon an effort years ago to provide advanced level training on anhydrous ammonia, because it doesn't take a lot of ammonia to cause injury. And farmers put it on themselves, our members put it on for the farmers. And so we're constantly upgrading our safety programs on that. We have a new online program that any farmer, any time of day can take. It walks him through very advanced modules, videos. He has to take a test at the end. And then our members are required to go to training every 3 years. Even if they've been around it for 25 years, they still every 3 years have to come in for a half a day of training, which we help sponsor.
Well, Jean Payne, thank you so much for walking us through what the industry is trying to do to make everybody safe. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Oh, Fred, you're welcome.
West Texas wasn't the only fertilizer news this week. We had a major announcement on the local front. With that and more water news is Monica Becker. Monica?
Thanks, Fred. It seems that today's show has the 4 original elements: water, land, air, and fire. So let's start out with water and land. We have too much of one on the other. Our area saw another 0.6 of an inch, with some spots reporting as much as 1.75 inches on Tuesday. Of course, that was on top of the 5 to 6 inches that we had last week. I'm showing you this just so we can remember this coming August, but soil moisture statewide is at 65% surplus. We're at 72% surplus, and obviously because of that and the cold soil temperatures, the state is still reporting 1% of corn has been planted. I'd show you the chart, but it would just make you sad. The area rivers have mostly crested, but folks along the Mississippi and the Illinois rivers are still having problems. 7 Mississippi River locks between Muscatine, Iowa and Saverton, Missouri were closed due to flooding. The closure of the locks effectively shut down the river to commercial traffic, although some commercial traffic decided to head downstream on its own. The river was reported to be between 21 and 26 feet above flood stage and only 4 feet below the record crest. Wasn't I reading stories about how low the Mississippi River was just weeks ago? Man, what a difference a couple of weeks can make. The Illinois Farm Bureau is reporting that this may be it, and the weather should be drier and warmer for a while. Potentially, farmers might, and I emphasize might, be able to get into the fields in the next week to 10 days. Fingers crossed. And it goes without saying that spring is arriving a bit slowly to the Midwest. Farmers are going to the field and the price of their soon-to-be planted crops is falling. Todd Gleason has more on what producers can expect their crops to be worth this season.
Eventually, the effects of last year's drought will wear off. Rains have already fallen on some of the parched Midwest, and farmers, if they could get into their now-soaked fields, would. It looks to be a slow start to the growing season, says University of Illinois ag economist Darrell Good.
Looks like corn planting for the most part in the Midwest is going to be pushed back to late April, early May. I think that's still very timely planting, but if we see even further delays, then I think there will be some ongoing concern about corn acreage perhaps being shifted to soybeans, although historically it's taken a very late planting season for that to happen, but also some concern about yield if corn planting gets much past the first week of May.
Even so, it looks today as if this year's corn crop will be a big one by the time fall arrives. If it is, the price of corn will be much, much, much lower.
I'm still in the camp that says we have the potential of a very large corn crop yet, and prospects for building inventories. And under that scenario, I would expect we would bring prices back down to the pre-drought levels that we experienced in 2010, 2011, would be more in the $4.50 to $4.75 range compared to just under $7 expected for this marketing year.
New crop corn prices haven't dropped that far, well, just yet, and it's still possible for them to rally, says Darrell Good.
Yeah, I think now with the delays in planting here and still some ongoing dryness in the western areas, given the price declines that we've seen in the corn market, I wouldn't necessarily be very aggressive on pricing new crop corn at this point, thinking that this weather uncertainty, yield concerns could support or bring a little price increase back into new crop corn.
Maybe, but it is important to watch the price of new crop corn and to take advantage of higher prices when they come. For University of Illinois Extension, I'm Todd Gleason.
Well, we've covered water and land in our elemental theme. Now, what about air and fire? Well, this is a stretch, but make it gases and fire and we can do this. The West Texas explosion hasn't deterred the Illinois Senate from creating a list of incentives for a proposed fertilizer plant in Douglas County near Tuscola. Chapin Rose of Mahomet introduced Senate Bill 1147, and it was passed unanimously. The only major concern was the West Texas fire and explosion. The bill's sponsors pointed out that the different type of fertilizers the Tuscola plant would be manufacturing are non-flammable. A similar bill is now moving through the House. The plant would provide 200 permanent jobs and is projected to have a $300 million annual impact within the 6-county area. The Illinois Department of Agriculture announced that nominating petitions for the Illinois Commodity Board are now available. Any farmer who would like to serve a 3-year term on the Illinois Corn Marketing Board, the Illinois Soybean Program Operating Board, or the Illinois Sheep and Wool Marketing Board can now start circulating petitions. Petitions are available from the Department of Agriculture or the county extension offices. A person must be at least 18 years old, have produced and marketed the commodity, reside in the district to be represented, and have submitted a valid petition by the correct date. The corn and soybean petitions are due May 15th. For more information, contact the Illinois Department of Agriculture. And while this may not be agricultural pest, one of the ickiest things around is the bedbug. I squirm while just thinking about them. The USDA and researchers think that they may be close to finding a very effective way of controlling them. Bob Ellison reports.
Bedbugs are an annoying problem that has made a comeback in recent years. Dr. Mark Feldlofer with USDA's Agricultural Research Service in Beltsville, Maryland, says bedbugs can infest any place people live.
When the person goes to sleep, they will come out. Their bite is usually painless, so you will not feel them. They can suck blood, finish their blood meal in 5 to 8 minutes, and then they aggregate or they stay together in these very difficult to find cracks and crevices.
And this makes them hard to get at with chemicals.
The problem with spraying is that because bedbugs are cryptic, they hide, it's important to treat all of the hiding areas. So if you treat most of the hiding areas but do not treat some of the other ones, you will still have bedbugs.
To help control them, Dr. Feldlofer is researching alarm pheromones that bedbugs secrete when panicked and cause them to run around.
Perhaps if you were to go in either beforehand or at the same time with alarm pheromone, you would get movement of the bedbugs and dispersal, and they would be more amenable to coming into direct contact with the chemical.
He is also researching a fungus that is often fatal to bedbugs.
Right now we're seeing either by direct application to the bedbug, or if we treat a surface and let the bedbug crawl over the treated surface, we're seeing mortality or efficacy in the 50 to 60% range.
Evidence of bedbug infestation can be bites, spotting from their defecation, and their shed skins. They can be transported in luggage, clothing, and used furniture. Once an infestation has been confirmed, Feldlofer recommends contacting professional pest management. In Beltsville, Maryland, I'm Bob Ellison for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
Yeah, all that good night and sleep tight business. As soon as a bed bug bites, I'm out of here. That's it for this week. I'm Monica Becker. Thanks for watching.
Last week, Bill Uphoff and Leroy Scott told us that they were sitting around and waiting to plant. This week, we hunted down Tim Lenz to see if he's had better luck. I think I know the answer, Tim.
Sure, Fred. No, haven't done anything since last week. I think, last week there accumulated probably 5 to 6 inches, and then we had another inch to 2 inches last night, depending on the where the farm was. And so, yeah, we're as wet as it can get. There's water standing, so it can't get any wetter.
So instead of corn, you think you're going to start a trout farm, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. Wouldn't be too bad, except a lot of the ponds have overflowed. So some of the trout probably went down into the stream.
So is we've seen wet before. Is this as bad as you can remember recently?
We kind of get skewed a little bit because last year was so nice. I'm sure we were done planting corn last year.
Oh, yeah. Last year, guys, you were making vacation plans.
Yeah, exactly, and beans, too. So that kind of skewed it. A few years back, I don't know if it was 09. I think it was 09 we got late, and then, the whole summer was kind of cool. We kind of waited around for the corn to mature, actually, So, no, we planted corn in June before. You don't like it because, here pretty soon you do start losing half a bushel a day.
Right.
You can still have good corn, but you just need more ideal weather the rest of the year. And you have to really make sure you don't go in and plant or, do things now too wet because that will hurt you the rest of the year. So, it becomes a little more crucial here.
Now, soil temperatures haven't really been going up lately. How's it looking down there?
Yeah, no, it's cool. We were in the 30s last night. I think we're in the 30s today. So, yeah, I don't know if the soil temp's been above 50, which is your bare minimum for corn. Maybe a couple of weeks ago there over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it maybe warmed up maybe into that Monday. I think that was maybe it was 3 weeks ago now. But we had a little stretch in there where we got in and did a little bit, put some anhydrous or nitrogen on and some things like that. So, but after that, it's been cold, as you know, and so no, the soil temperature has been cool. If it wasn't wet, we'd still be planting because at a certain point, it's going to warm up around the seed. Exactly. Yeah, early part of the season, you plant by the thermometer, and when it gets, this time you plant by the calendar. So,
right.
That's the way it goes.
So, how long before your planting decisions change? You have a long time before for corn, but when do you start to worry?
Well, in May, you still plant corn in May.
Okay.
Especially where a lot of places where we have the nitrogen on, you're gonna plant pretty much whenever,
Right.
And some have already, if you've already got herbicide on to go to corn, there'd be very little bit of that. Some people would maybe have that on, but clear through May, I would still plant corn. Now, I might not plant as much corn on corn here pretty soon because I always try to leave that open that I can go to beans in case you do have a situation like this.
Well, Tim, I'm hoping that next time I talk to you, you're up to your elbows with work. So.
Sure, I hope so too.
Okay. Is it possible to wear out a rain gauge this quickly in the growing season? Well, water continues to be the major talking point for this show, at least. First we had the drought, and now we have whatever this is. And here to talk to me and talk me down from the ledge and talk me out of building an ark is Cameron Craig. And Cameron, what happened?
Well, it was very interesting. We compare this week to last week. This week we had less than an inch of rain here in Charleston, and then last week we had just over 6 inches of rain from Sunday to Friday morning.
Exactly.
And so what happened was we had a high pressure that was situated over the southeast United States.
Okay.
We had a cold front, a series of cold fronts chain linked by a bunch of lows that caused the system to move very slowly. And so when we looked at the radar, precipitation was flowing from the south to the north and then to the northeast. And so that constantly fed into our area with a slow-moving system and rain constantly coming up from the south.
Okay.
That's why we got the 6 inches.
So we had this big high pumping up moisture straight up.
That's right.
Straight up, and we had a line of cold pressure systems that just, when one was moving off, another one was moving in.
Yeah, it's like if you run across the landscape as children holding hands, they're all going at different speeds. That's exactly what was happening. And I've noticed this pattern over the last year. Anytime that you have a chain of lows interlinked with cold fronts, they don't move very fast.
Okay.
And so comparing this week, we had most of the precipitation moving from the southwest to the northeast.
Okay.
And so, but it moved quicker.
Okay.
It was still a chain of lows situation, but it just moved quicker.
Now, so is this a pattern we're seeing a lot of this spring, or is this something that just perfect storm, so to speak?
It's one of those things that because the jet stream fluctuates, sometimes it gets very amplified or moves very quickly. You know, those are the kind of things we can expect. This it's not out of the ordinary. People think, wow, we got, you know, like the big snow that we had at the end of March. You know, that what happened, and it's not necessarily that it is out of the ordinary, but these things can happen because of a fluctuating jet stream.
Now, a lot of folks are saying we are out of the D word.
Yeah, I will say it, drought.
Okay, thank you. And a lot of folks say, you know, joking about, oh, you know, we can't get in the fields. I mean, is the weather patterns changed, or is there a problem? I mean, are we out of the?
Well, the thing is that we'll take last year's April. We had the most precipitation in April last year. We were like 3 or 4 inches above normal for last April. But then in May and June, we started to see the dry pattern occur. Now here's what we're looking at for the next month, month of May.
Okay.
30-day outlook. We're looking at drier than normal conditions.
Okay, drier than normal conditions, but not necessarily dry.
Yeah, well, it's below average in precipitation.
Okay, so and is that, what's the long-term trend saying?
The long-term term is that we will be warmer than normal, and it looks like we're going to stay equal chances for precipitation.
Okay, so hot.
And sticking next to that climatological precipitation.
So hopefully the guys will get in, get the crops planted, and then we'll get that nice rain periodically.
That frequent drizzly type of rain that sets in and kind of soaks the ground so that the crops can use it. Occasionally we'll see thunderstorms move through that drop heavier rain amounts, but let's have the frequent rather than the where is it at.
Right. Well, let me tell you personally, young man, that if I have to come up with more drought stories for the second year in a row, he's in trouble.
That's right. Well, we'll just use the same ones that we did last year.
You're right. Okay. Nobody's going to notice, right? Well, Cameron, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jessica Killa with your Insight Extension. This week is our National Volunteer Week, and we would like to thank all of our wonderful volunteers. All of our volunteers, from our 4-H leaders to our master gardeners, to those who serve on our Extension Council, Foundation, Fair Boards, and all of those who volunteer in other capacities, help to make our Extension unit extraordinary. Throughout the week, we will be honoring our volunteers by sharing their stories on our unit and county Facebook pages. Make sure you look for those. Thank you to all our outstanding volunteers for all the hard work you do. The Coles County Master Gardeners will be participating in the annual Herb Fest in Mattoon this Saturday, April 27th from 8 a.m. until they are sold out. The Herb Fest will be on Broadway Avenue at 9th Street. The Master Gardeners will have their tables on the east side of the picket fence and will be selling bulbs, baskets, native plants, grasses, herbs, gloves, compost buckets, and much more. Give your brain a workout. Sign up for brain training to be held on June 17th and 24th from 1:30 until 3 p.m. at the Shelbyville Senior Center. Extension educator Sherry Burcham will be teaching this class as part of the Lakeland community programs. You can register now at lakelandcollege.edu. All ages are welcome. From U of I Extension, serving Coles, Cumberland, Moultrie, Douglas, and Shelby counties, this has been Jessica Killo with your Inside Extension.
"34 years ago tonight, I was lucky enough to marry my farmer's daughter. She was the cutest little thing, and I knew I was marrying up. 3 decades, 2 kids, 1 granddaughter, and 11 cars later, she is still putting up with me, and she is still the cutest little thing. I don't have any great advice for young people starting out on their own adventure called life, except find a good friend, a partner, and someone who makes your insides quiver. Hopefully they'll be the same person, and then hang on and enjoy the ride. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, next year, or 30 years from now. I just hope my farmer's daughter is still by my side. The ride is much more fun with her there. Happy anniversary, Laura." Well, that's it for this week. Work hard, be safe, and enjoy the beautiful sunsets. I'm Fred Peralta, and thanks for watching the Four Rivers Ag Report.